Well, what up, and welcome to week 14 of our Athletic Ascension community, which is where we talk all things athlete mindset. As I say always, if you're a serious athlete, you're doing everything you need to do on the court. This is what you need to be doing off the court in order to refine your mind before you refine your grind. Okay. And so this week, like every week, we're talking about the most important aspect of your game, which is what goes on between your ears. And tonight's or today's episode is really about how intangibles trump talent. And I want to take a moment and really talk about that. But two things. Number one, I don't have a title page because I went back and forth on the title of today's message because I really have one message, but another message is wrapped within it, as always is probably the case, right? But so I want to talk about how intangibles trump talent. And for those of you that don't understand what intangibles are, let's talk about that first and foremost. So intangibles, the root word is tangible. Tangible means to touch. So intangibles means the things that you can't touch, the things that you can't feel, the things that aren't real, the things that aren't measurable or traceable. So in essence, what I want to talk about is how these intangible assets, these intangible things that you as an athlete bring to the game, bring to the situation, bring to the team, bring to the atmosphere, bring to the environment, these things are actually trumping your talent. Okay. Now, when I say that, first and foremost, there's a caveat to it because your talent is what's going to get you even in the door. Your talent is what's going to get you on the team. The talent is going to get you in the mix. The talent is what has you in the place that you're in. So that's a given. And like I said, if you're watching this, obviously you're a serious athlete. Obviously you're trying to get to the next level, whatever that level is for you. As I say all the time, you may be a bench player, or you may be someone who hasn't made the team, who's trying to get on the team. You may be a bench player trying to become a role player. You may be a role player trying to become a starter. You may be a starter trying to become a star. You may be a star trying to take it from local to regional to statewide to national, whatever the case may be. We all have levels. As the song says, there's levels to this, right? And on top of that, you can ascend in those levels really quickly. Again, another thing I always talk about is getting from growth mode into go mode. And once we are able to activate your go mode, you can ascend quickly. I, for instance, went from being a freshman who was not on the varsity team to less than 8-9 months later, I'm averaging 20 points a game on one of the top teams in the state as a sophomore. And so I got into go mode, out of growth mode into go mode. And go back and watch some of our AAC content, and you can learn how to exactly the steps I took that will also help many of you get from growth mode, where we're growing naturally, where we're growing incidentally, to go mode, where we're growing with intentionality. So that's the first thing I want to talk about, is the intangible aspect of, or let me go back. So if you're a serious athlete, you're already have the talent. But now we want to talk about how we get past the talent. What's going to get us to that next level? And those are the intangibles. Those are the things that you can't touch, that you can't see, that are hard to measure. So what does that look like? Intangibles are things like the energy you bring, the body language, the ability to get along with others, the ability to execute instructions and plays and defensive schemes, the ability to, um, you know, make things happen in given moments, like a clutch gene. All these things are intangibles. Your ability to communicate is an intangible. Okay, these things, when you are very talented or you're trying to get to your next level, actually give you more than what just your talent bring. These things are what open doors. And if you talk to your parents, if you talk to successful adults, they'll tell you it's almost always about the intangibles, not the talent. You have the most talented people who usually don't work hard, they don't get along with people, they don't communicate well, and the list goes on and on. And that talent just sits on the shelf. So we're talking about first and foremost how you can get your talent off the shelf into an activated talent. Now, with that being said, I want to transition to what my real message is basically how you get your game off, AKA how you play good at all times, AKA how you make your game shine in front of scouts, in front of any type of evaluator. Because I was at a camp last week. I was at a college camp for high school athletes who were working out in front of various college coaches. And I remember going through that same process. And I remember how tough it is because, yeah, we all could play, we all have different talents. But in that moment, what is the best way? You know, you've got a couple of hours in front of a scout. What is the best way to get your game off? And in essence, it's really a challenge every single game because you want to play well all the time. So you want to be super consistent. So, how do we create consistency in how well we're playing? Well, it goes back to the intangibles because I am a big believer in control the controllables. In other words, we only worry about the inputs and never the outputs. We leave the outputs to God. Now what am I saying? Think about a shooter, and I teach this in shooting to my clients all the time. But when you're shooting, you don't base your energy or your effort or your love or your response on whether or not the ball's going in. You base everything based on the mechanics that go into the shot, not the output of whether or not the ball went in the net. So you're going to put your effort into the footwork to get your footwork and your hips aligned, to get your timing on the catch, have an open wrist, have a high release point, have eyes locked in on the rim, lock out your elbow at a high release point. And then you've done everything you could possibly do in order, you've controlled all the inputs in order to shoot your very best shot. Now, if it goes in, great, it goes in. Of course, we want it to go in. But if it doesn't, we don't change our energy. With that being said, the same thing applies to how we become consistent in always playing well. And going back to my first point, this starts with intangibles. So tonight or today is really about me, depending on when you're watching this, is really about me giving you some tools that is going to take your game to the next level. Take your game to become way more consistent, to where no matter the atmosphere, no matter the game, no matter the opportunity, I'm going to give you 5 intangibles that are going to allow you to overcome that are going to be more valuable than your talent. So let's put it that way. Okay. So I hope that intro made sense. But so the first intangible I want to talk about, and I want to tell you a story because I noticed this intangible by going to as a sophomore, my dad began to take me to national camps. And I would go to these camps and I got to play against guys who were basically future NBA All-Stars. Zach Randolph, Deshaun Stevenson, who else was there? Chris Duhon, Andre Barrett, like all these guys that were the who's who back in the day. And I was this kid coming in from Oklahoma with basically no reputation other than right in Oklahoma. And what you have to understand is when you're going to New York and you're going to LA and you're going to Atlanta, like they don't even know where Oklahoma is. Like it's in the middle of the map. They think we live with cows. Like it was crazy. Like people had never heard of my city. And so I had no reputation. And I would watch these guys come in with camera crews. I watched these guys come in with dozens of magazines, excuse me, with their face on the cover. And 5 minutes later, this is the guy that you're having to go against, or this is the guy who's the point guard on your team, or this is the guy that everybody in the gym is watching, including the Rick Pitino's and Tubby Smiths and Bill Selfs and all these other people, all these great coaches. And what I realized was these guys had swagger to them, but it wasn't bravado, look at me swagger. Like they had some of that too, but the swagger that was effective, the swagger that made a difference was their ability to talk and touch with those around them. And that's why this is your very first intangible. If you want to come in and control the scene and establish your energy in an environment, don't be afraid to talk and touch. The wallflowers that go to the corner, because I was one of them, the ones that hide out, the ones that are just like, hey, how are you? 9 times out of 10, these are not the ones that are going to make an impact on the court. And I'm not talking about being egregious or over the top or loud. I'm not talking about, you don't have to be Anthony Edwards. I'm just saying, if you walk into a gym, or let's say you're with your teammates and it's before a game, if you want to establish a good energy, start talking, start touching, whether it's pounds, high fives, whether it's, you're playing defense and you're being physical, talking on the defensive end, communicating on the floor, calling plays. If you exercise your voice, we talk about all the time the power of the voice, the power of the tongue. This is one of your greatest powers. And when you activate it, it's like your energy gets a chance to be exercised and come out. It's almost like a warm up for your energy. And I find so many athletes are holding their voice in. They just want to get in and be quiet and try not to make a mistake. And that's not what we're about. Okay. If you want to be able to execute at a high level, perform at a high level, it starts with talking and touching. So I don't care if you're coming into a camp, I don't care if you're going into a big game with your team, find an outlet to go and let your voice be heard. Maybe, like I said, if you know the people you're around, maybe you feel comfortable already saying, hey, what's up? Let's go, let's do this. We're going to win this. Or, hey, I'm feeling good today. How you feeling? Those types of things. What's up with you? Or it may be, if you don't know people, it may be just when I get into the game, I'm using my voice. Hey, I got help. You step up. That's yours. I got 10. Hey, I'm open. Hey, find me. Ball. Or, hey, I got you coming off the screen. Switch on that. Like just using your voice, being physical. These types of things are going to take away the anxiety that it comes, because when you think about playing good, when most people, even if it's your parents, when they think about you playing good, they think about the ball going in the hole. They think about you shooting shots. And I'm guessing, I'm not even guessing, I know that when you think about playing well, that's what you think about. Was, well, I hope my shot goes in tonight. No, I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step process that is going to help your shot go in, because we're going to remove all the anxiety. We're going to remove all the attention away from shot making. So the next thing you can do is defend like a dog. Okay. We talk all the time about animal instinct. We talk all the time about animal energy, animalistic energy. You have to be a ravenous wolf on defense. Why? Because there's no such thing as a defensive mistake as long as you're playing hard. A foul is a good thing. You stop the defense, right? Even if it's only temporarily, as long as it's not a shooting foul. Diving on the floor for loose balls. Talking again, like I mentioned, communicating on defense, being physical, touching, getting deflections, cutting off the paint. All of these things are going to, number one, decrease your anxiety because you're exercising your energetic capacity. You're sweating, you're moving. You're going to quickly forget that this is a big game and this is just going to become any other competition to you. You're going to get in the moment and into your flow faster if you come in, talk and touch, and then focus on defending like a dog. Put all of your energy into defense. Who knows? Your first basket may be a steal. Your first basket may be a breakaway layup. And doesn't that make us all feel good as shooters when all of a sudden we're getting easy buckets? Your first basket may be a steal and you get fouled. And now all of a sudden you got 2 free throws. Okay. That's going to take all the anxiety away. So your focus is on when I walk in that room or when I walk on that court, I'm going to talk and touch. I'm going to make my voice heard. I'm going to make my presence felt. And then I'm going to take that energy and apply it with all my might on defense. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to begin to get touches. And when I say get touches, I mean accumulate touches. You want to be touching the ball as much as possible. I didn't say shoot. I didn't say accumulate shots. I didn't say accumulate dribbles. I said accumulate touches. So what this means is I'm constantly trying to come to the ball in order to touch it, not to shoot it, not to drive it, not to throw, like to touch it. I literally want the ball, my hands to become acclimated to the ball. So this may mean loose ball. I'm diving on it. This may mean it's a timeout. I'm going over to touch the ball. This may mean one thing it definitely means is presenting yourself on, especially if you have a motion offense or any type of free flow offense, or maybe it's a set play. Come to the ball as much as possible, not with the mindset of I'm about to do something with this ball, or I'm about to drive, or I'm about to shoot this first shot. I haven't even touched the ball. You just want to touch it. One of the best things you can do is touch it 3 or 4 times and just move it. Just move it. Like I said, those touches may come on defense. Those touches may come on out of bounds plays. Okay. So you want to accumulate touches. Again, we are setting in motion the events that are going to create a flow for you, that is going to make the game easy. That's going to make the game not only easy, but replicatable, meaning these are things you can do every single time you're on the court. These are things that you control. And if you can input the right ingredients, most often you're going to get out the right ingredients. Okay. Not always, but most often statistics will show that you will get out the right output. So in addition to get touches, we then want to begin to accumulate paint touches. Okay. And what that means is we want to begin to drive the ball and attack the defense. At this point, we're using our voice, we're using our physicality, we're defending. So we're making a positive impact before we've had any type of risk or any type of pressure put on us. We're doing all the easy stuff. We're checking all the boxes. Then we've touched the ball. We've swung it a couple times. We may have gotten it from a ref out of bounds, whatever the case may be. Now we're ready to get and attack the paint, get the ball and attack the paint. And what this means is I played for a coach named Giorgio Valli when I was in Italy. He later coached for the Spurs along with Ettore Messina, who was the head coach at CSKA Moscow, which is like the LA Lakers of Russia. They're one of the probably top 5 or 10 teams in all of Europe. Same team, Andrei Kirilenko former Utah Jazz star, came from. And so Ettore Matina is he's a basketball genius, essentially. He coached with Greg Popovich for about a dozen years with the Spurs as well, or about a decade. And Ettore Messina taught my coach, Georgia Valley, the philosophy of double paint touches every single possession. And what he basically wanted to do, he built this whole offensive scheme that later the Spurs used to win multiple championships, and obviously Jessica Moscow used as well. But it was centered around getting players to attack the paint and get 2 feet into the paint and kick it out and keep the motion moving, and another guard get 2 feet in the paint in the same possession. So essentially, you want to touch the paint twice with the ball in your hand in one possession. And it's virtually unguardable, because if you've broken the defense down, because think about this, let me go back. Anytime you have a paint touch, what does it do? You're going to draw defenders, at least 2 defenders, sometimes 3 or 4 defenders, even if it's just draw their attention, even if they don't necessarily come towards you. Well, what that does is get other people open. So this is like an elevated form of a touch. Remember earlier I talked about just touch it and swing it. Now we're actually going to touch and attack. But this attack is going to be very strategic, because we're going to create plays for our teammates. So you want to begin to just attack, thinking, I just want to touch the paint. All I want to do is get 2 feet in the paint. I may pick the ball up on a jump step or a Texas 2-hop. I may drive and Euro and kick it to somebody. I may drive and keep my dribble and throw a one-hand pass off the dribble, whatever. I just want to attack the paint, attract 2 or more defenders, and kick the ball. Now, obviously, if you're open, you're going to shoot your paint shots, your finishes, your in the paint array of finishes, whatever that may be. But even that is going to be a close up shot. It may be a pull up jumper. It may be a jump hook. It may be an up and under. These are simple shots that you don't even have to think about. So many of us are trying to make our first shot a Steph Curry 3 or a James Harden step back. And that is the opposite of what we need to be doing. So after we get our paint touches, the last thing we want to do is actually shoot our shots. And what do I mean by shoot your shots, shoot our shots? I mean that at this point, I'm sorry, my microphone's getting a problem. At this point, you want to be shooting shots that are in your repertoire, that are in your consistent bag of shots that you get in the game. The shots that you're practicing on, shots that your coach has seen you shoot. These shouldn't be trick shots. These shouldn't be once in a lifetime shots. These should be your shots. Does that make sense? So if you do these 5 things, guys, talk and touch, defend like a dog, get your touches, then get paint touches, then shoot your shots, you will play well. And this is why intangibles, the little things you bring, trump talent. Because if a coach has a player that is doing these 5 things consistently, this player is going to be very, very valuable to any team, to any situation. So this is what I need us to do. I need us to stop focusing on our talent, stop focusing on the woo-woo. I'm going to dunk on you, and I'm going to shoot 1,000 step backs, and I'm going to dribble 50 times. We know you have the talent. Now we are trying to give you the tools to activate the talent. Once you're doing all these things and you're feeling good and you scored a couple layups, then you hit a couple of your shots, you're defending every play, you're touching the ball, you're moving the ball. Now you may get into your bag and hit a step back. You may hit a deep Steph Curry 3. You may hit 2 or 3 of them. Who knows? You may be feeling that good. But we're talking about how to consistently create the atmosphere where you feel good enough to hit these difficult shots. I hope this helps. You guys keep watching, keep sharing. I love the feedback that we're getting. And thanks so much for watching. See you next time.